Paul Teutul Sr. with Orange County Choppers is here with the foundation tonight. First of all, thank you for being part of tonight.
You're welcome. I'm proud to be here.
Paul Teutul Sr. with Orange County Choppers is here with the foundation tonight. First of all, thank you for being part of tonight. You're welcome. I'm proud to be here. They were the kings of custom motorcycles, turning wrenches into golden Discovery Channel. But when the cameras stopped rolling, the American Chopper stars lost everything. Bankruptcy filings revealed debts in the millions. Lawsuits flew between family members. One son disappeared completely after suing $4,250,000. Another fought addiction while his father threw him out. The mansion featured on TV went into foreclosure. The business empire collapsed. Today, they're scattered across the country, and what happened to each of them will shock you. Paul Teutul Sr., he used to yell orders while building dream motorcycles, standing like a king inside Orange County Choppers. His giant arms folded, sunglasses on, voice booming through the shop. Paul Teutul Sr. wasn't just a bike builder. He was a TV star, a brand, a symbol of old-school toughness. Fans watched every episode, cheering as engines roared and tempers exploded. But off camera, the empire was already falling apart. By February 2018, everything came crashing down. He filed for Chapter 13 bankruptcy, quietly admitting he owed nearly 170,800 ringgit to almost 50 different creditors. His assets were listed at 19001,729 but the truth was even more brutal. He was earning $15,793 a month, but spending $12,612 just to stay afloat. There was barely anything left. The mansion in Montgomery, New York that fans once watched him proudly build on TV went into foreclosure. In 2019, he had no choice but to sell it for just $1.5 million. He wanted more than double that. The sale even included tools and farm animals because every cent counted, but the money problems weren't the only disaster. In 2017, his own business partner, Thomas Derbyshire, sued him for fraud. Derbyshire had put in $3 million to help launch a new show. But Paul Sr. burned through it. Court papers told the real story. He delayed filming for an entire week just to go fishing. He refused to work with people they had already hired. He secretly took money from the budget to pay his son Michael's salary without telling anyone. He even made side trades, exchanging dog food for his girlfriend's animal rescue project and grabbing free gear for his shop on the side. Every move was hidden, every deal was off the books. Then came more legal chaos. In 2019, a federal judge found him in contempt of court for not paying $17,000 to JTM Motorsports. They had worked on his 2009 Chevrolet Corvette ZR1. He never paid them. He also owed the town of Crawford $151,000 $230.90 in back taxes. On top of that, he had $21,300 in credit card debt. And it didn't stop there. Reports surfaced tying him to an alleged scheme that tricked Central American investors out of $12 to $15 million. It was all tied to his OC Roadhouse project in Florida. By March 2020, he packed up and left New York. The original shop that once made him famous was done. He moved everything to Clearwater, Florida, starting over with the OC Museum and Roadhouse. The name was still big. The bikes were still loud. But the glory was gone. The money was gone. The trust was gone. He's 76 now and still builds bikes and shows up on YouTube, gripping handlebars and acting like the old days never ended. Paul Teutul Jr. Paul Teutul Jr. was once the face of a roaring empire. He built custom choppers that stunned the world. His designs ran in Discovery Channel. He worked side by side with his father, Paul Sr., and together they made Orange County Choppers a household name. But fame only lasted so long, and what started as a dream ended in courtroom battles, betrayal, and bankruptcy that nearly erased everything he had built. It all began to fall apart in 2008 during the height of American Chopper's popularity. Cameras were rolling when Paul Sr. exploded at his son. The argument wasn't new. They had been fighting for years about who made the real decisions. But this time, it went further. Paul Sr. fired his son on live TV. Just like that, Junior was out. No office, no bikes, no crew. His name was still Auntie Company, though. He owned 20% of Orange County Choppers. And that's where the real war started. Senior didn't want his son owning anything. He triggered a buyout clause buried in their business agreement, one that would let him force Junior out completely. But instead of valuing the 20% fairly, Senior's own appraiser claimed it was worth nothing. The same son who helped build the company, who designed the bikes that made them famous, was now told his share meant absolutely nothing. Junior fought back. He went to court, and by December 2010 he won the appeal. Judges ruled the deal was unenforceable. They never agreed on how to calculate the value. So Paul Jr. got to keep his stake, but the damage was already done. The family was broken and the business had turned into a battlefield. In 2009, trying to save the Discovery Channel deal, they signed a temporary truce. But the tension never went away. The trust was gone. So Junior started over. He launched his own company, Paul Jr. Designs, and moved his shop to Ship Bottom, New Jersey. He'd have the original crew, the old garage, or the backing of a reality show empire, but he had his hands, his style, and his name. Big brands came calling: Microsoft, Cadillac, Mercedes-Benz. He built custom choppers for all of them. The bikes still made people stop and stare. But behind the success, money trouble started creeping in. By March 2018, the numbers told the real story. Paul Jr. filed for Chapter 13 bankruptcy. His assets were listed at $1,800,1729, but his debts were nearly as high, $170,893 def. On top of that, he owed $51308 in tax debt. His biggest asset was his mansion in Montgomery, New York, valued at $1.8 million. But that house wasn't enough to keep everything from falling apart. It was a slow, painful collapse. The fame was still there, but the fortune was gone. Even now, Paul Jr. is still in the game. He shows up at high-end motorcycle competitions. He judges fancy concourse events. He still builds bikes, but he's no longer part of the empire he helped create. Orange County Choppers moved on without him. His net worth today sits at just $2 million, a far cry from what it could have been. He built bikes that were shown around the world. He helped turn a family garage into a global brand. And in the end, he lost the shop, the name, and the trust of the man who taught him everything. 1 decade was all it took to go from television royalty to bankruptcy court. But through all of it, he kept building. Mikey Teutul. When American Chopper hit TV screens, people tuned in for the roaring engines, the custom bikes, and the wild fights between Paul Sr. and Paul Jr. But there was always one person who brought a breath of fresh air into the chaos. Mikey Teutul wasn't building bikes. He wasn't screaming or throwing wrenches. He was cracking jokes, answering phones, and cleaning up around the Orange County Chopper's shop. He was the soft spot in a show built on hard metal. But what most people didn't see was that Mikey's real battle wasn't with his family. It was with himself. It was with the bottle. The drinking started quietly, almost like a background noise in his life. But as the seasons rolled on, that noise got louder. Mikey's addiction didn't just affect him. It broke down every part of his world. His father, Paul Sr., had built the business from the ground up and couldn't take it anymore. This wasn't just some break. Paul Sr. kicked Mikey out of Orange County Choppers completely. The shop, the show, the family business. It was all gone in one brutal decision. Fans began noticing Mikey disappearing from episodes. His name was no longer tied to motorcycles or laughter. It was tied to lawsuits, addiction, and silence. But Mikey didn't stop trying. After rehab, after court battles, after losing the family home, he began picking up the pieces. He came back to Orange County Choppers, not as a star, but as assistant general manager. He handled the Facebook page. He kept things moving. It was a small role, but it was steady. He also started his own company, Fart Products LLC, and began selling homemade gourmet pasta sauces. It wasn't about being famous anymore. It was about making something that felt real. In Montgomery, he opened an art gallery. He filled it with his own work, metal sculptures, paintings, the kind of pieces that spoke without needing noise. Vinnie D. Martino, in August 2007, Vinnie D. Martino packed up his tools and walked out of Orange County Choppers. He had spent 5 years there building some of the most iconic bikes the show ever aired. Fans loved his calm nature, his clean lines, his skill. But when he handed in his notice, Paul Teutul, Sr., looked straight at camera and said, "Everyone's replaceable. No thanks, no handshake, no respect." Just a cold sentence that hit Vinnie harder than any punch. He didn't argue, he just left. But he wasn't done. He joined forces with Cody Connolly, another young builder from OC, and together, they opened V-Force Customs in Rock Tavern, New York. They didn't waste time. Clients came in, bikes got built, and the shop started strong. In 2010, Vinnie was back on television working alongside Paul Jr. in American Chopper Senior vs. Junior. He appeared in 55 out of the show's 65 episodes. For 4 seasons, it looked like things were finally lining up. The dream felt real, but the world outside the shop was changing fast. Then came the crash. The 2008 financial crisis didn't just shake banks and stock markets. It crushed the custom motorcycle world. By late 2013, the market for custom choppers had vanished. People weren't buying. The culture that once fueled shows and shops had burned out. It didn't matter how good Vinnie's work was. There were no buyers left. The losses piled up. V-Force Customs couldn't survive. One by one, Vinnie sold the equipment he had built his dream on. Lathes, welders, paint guns gone. He shut down the shop quietly. No spotlight, no send-off. Just the sound of doors closing and dreams folding in. That same year, Vinnie made a painful pivot. He took what little he had left and opened DeMartino Motorsports in Montgomery. This time, it wasn't about high-end bikes or cable TV. It was about keeping the lights on. Instead of designing custom choppers for the world, he now fixes cars and light trucks for local people. There are no cameras in the garage, no fans leaning over the ropes, just grease, tools, and honest work. Today, his estimated net worth is around $1 million. For someone who once stood under the bright lights of a hit reality show, that number seems small, but it's what he's built with his own hands, without shortcuts, without scripts. Vinnie proved something that day he walked out in 2007. He didn't need Paul Sr.'s approval. He didn't need fame to survive. He just needed enough belief in himself to start over, and even when everything fell apart, he found a way to keep going. Rick Petco, every day for 13 years. Rick Petco woke up in Pennsylvania and drove 90 minutes just to get to work. Then at the end of each day, he turned around and did it again. That's 3 hours a day, 5 days a week, sitting in traffic, stuck between trucks and tail lights just to reach the loudest shop on television. From July 2003 until 2016, Rick kept that routine going like a machine. While the Teutul sat Orange County choppers through wrenches, broke furniture, and screamed across the floor, Rick quietly kept building bikes and showing up. Nobody on screen saw it, but his life was being eaten alive by the road. He was paid well for it. Every time Rick appeared on an episode, he earned $13,000 on top of his regular OCC salary. The checks added up. By the time he stepped away, his net worth had climbed to about $1.75 million. But all that money came at a cost that didn't show up on screen. The shop was chaos. The cameras never stopped. The fights were real, and Rick was spending more time with his steering wheel than with his own wife. In 2012, he got married, and that changed everything. He started to notice how much of his life was being drained away, hours spent behind the wheel, energy wasted watching Senior and Junior scream about deadlines, frames, and loyalty. The show had made him famous. It had made him rich, but it hadn't made him happy. So, in 2016, Rick made the kind-of move that most people talk about, but never do. He walked away. No more TV cameras. No more per-episode bonuses. No more driving an hour and a half just took into a storm of yelling. Rick packed up his tools and moved home. Not just to Pennsylvania.